Hi, I'm Lee and welcome to the Guitar Show, part of the British Tech Network. This week's been a bit mad. I've been away with work a bit, so I've not had a massive amount of time to play my guitar. When I have done, I've been using Logic Pro and the Apogee Jam 96K. I've talked about that in previous podcasts, but I've been using that as an interface into my Mac to record some, kind of get a bit of a recording tone, because I'm planning on doing an EP over the next year. And also, I had the Apple Watch delivered last Friday, so I've been playing with that quite a lot. I'm going to be talking about that just in a bit in the news. I hope you've all had a good week. So let's go into the show. Okay, so for the news this week, as I just mentioned, the Apple Watch came out last Friday, and there's been a few things. Well, I've had a few press releases around Apple Watch apps that are coming out for various guitar products. So the first thing is from IK Multimedia. There's a new guitar tuner that they've brought out which works in conjunction with the app. You do need the iPhone app at the moment. There's a dependency. There's no developer kit for the watch yet, so developers are hooking them into iOS apps. This app is called Ultra Tuner. So this is from IK Multimedia. It does use... It's a bit strange because it does actually it uses the microphone on the phone rather than what's on the watch, and that's a restriction on the developers. It's not something that they have control over just yet, but it does give you a remote view of your pitch of your string on your watch. I've got a review copy of that, so I'll be looking at that over the next couple of weeks. Line 6 have also updated their Amplify software. So Amplify, for those people out there that know, is a product. One I reviewed quite a while ago for my site was the amp. It's kind of a combo, but it's got a heavy kind of iOS integration. So they've released an Apple Watch kind of extension to their app. Positive Grid this week. So this is off the Apple Watch now. Positive Grid, who do the Jam Up Pro apps. We did talk about those in the last episode. They've released something called Bias Effects, which is a cross-platform amp and effects processor. So when I say cross-platform, I mean that it works across Mac and iOS. So you can have a virtual pedal board effectively that you can share across devices. I've used Jam Up Pro for a long time. I've not had a chance to try this one yet, but I'll try and do that before the next episode so I can give you my viewpoint on it. But from what I kind of understand from reading, it's got quite a few effects and the amp modeling has been improved. So I look forward to having a look at that, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that. So that's the news for this week. So this week I wanted to talk about how you can record your guitar on an iPhone or an iPad. I find this useful for when I'm away with work, I'm in a hotel, or if I'm in a different part of the house, in an evening and I'm not close to my recording machine. Great thing with obviously the iPhone and the iPad is they're portable. So being able to plug your guitar into it and dial in some nice tones is great. But to do this effectively, you really need to buy an audio interface. There are plenty out there. I've used several of different manufacturers, but basically what it is an adapter that allows you to plug your guitar directly in to your iPad or your iPhone and pass the signal. So it passes the signal in and then it goes out via your headphones. And I've used multiple different types of interfaces where some have the headphones just in your normal output jack, and others will have it actually coming out of the audio interface themselves. So as I said, I've tried several interfaces, and depending on your budget, I've tried to have a look at the best ones that you can get, or the ones that I've tried and I can kind of personally vouch for. So personally, the one that I use the most, and this is one that I use across my iOS devices and my Mac, is the Apogee Jam 96K. They're just over £100, I think, at the moment on Amazon, but the quality is superb. They're really well built. They've got an onboard gain control with a light indicator to let you know if you're kind of maxing out the levels, and it's also got the ability to, as I said, to plug into your Mac. So this isn't something that you're just restricted to using on your iPad or your iPhone. And it's what I record with, as I've said. So any of the music that you hear on this podcast is all going to be recorded via that interface. If you're on more of a budget, then the iRig product range is really good. You can get these in the Apple Store or online, and I think you can pick them up for less than £40 now. And these are the sort of ones that, well, the one I had, I think, plugged into the headphone jack, but they do a iRig HD now, which I've not had a chance to play with, but that one goes into your Lightning port, and they're really good products too, and they're a lot cheaper than the Apogee Jam. Or when I say a lot, I mean you obviously want to have a look online to make up your mind on what you want to spend, but personally I would spend a little bit extra and get the Apogee. In terms of software that I use to go along with it, I used the Positive Grid Jam Up Pro mainly, but you can also use something like GarageBand, which is surprisingly good, and it's got a lot of good effects in there. So yeah, let me know how you get on. Let me know if you're using any other interfaces. I think Line 6 do some good ones too, but as I said, the ones that I've played and I recommend is the Apogee Jam 96K and the iRig, which are both available from multiple places. So do a search online to make sure you get the best price. And yeah, like I said, let me know how you get on. Okay, so on to the cool stuff for this week. I wanted to pick something that all guitar players need, whether you're playing at home or you're playing out and about, and that's a strap. It's a good idea to have a guitar strap, I think anyway, permanently attached to your guitar, even when you're playing at home, because practicing standing up and even sat down with a strap a little bit higher is good for your posture, and it's good to help prevent injuries as well. If you playing with your hand at kind of an angle where you're straining, or if it feels uncomfortable, then you just got to stop and just make sure that you're comfortable, because you can cause yourself an injury if you play for too long with your arm in an uncomfortable position. So a strap that I've known for a long time, but never actually tried until a few months ago, is the Damasio Clip Lock. So this is one that I used to see people like Satriani, Steve Vai using for years, but it wasn't until a friend of mine used one, and I had a chance to just kind of try his guitar that I suddenly thought, hang on, these are actually pretty good. So I went out and got myself one. So they're basically these attached to your guitar via the screws. So you need to take out the existing kind of strap buttons, and you get a new ones with this set. And what happens is basically like a little small piece of material, and the strap button goes through that, and then there's a clip, just like you'd find a clip on on a rucksack, something like that, just like one of these plastic clips, and then your strap attaches to that. So you can actually take the strap off the guitar by undoing the clips, but I just leave mine on all the time. The material, that it feels similar to kind of like a seatbelt material. It is very soft, and it's got some good stretch to it, so it is actually really comfortable. They retail for around £20, so they're not the cheapest kind of guitar strap out there, but in my experience and the ones that I've used, it's the one that I use across kind of not all my guitars, but certainly the couple of guitars that I use for recording and kind of I see as my kind of main guitars. I use it on those exclusively. So yeah, definitely, I'd recommend everybody gets a strap for their guitar, even if you're at home. Just playing with a strap, it's better for you in the long term, especially if you practice standing up too as well. So that's the Damasio Clip Lock strap, and that's the cool stuff for this week. So I want to take a quick break from the podcast to thank UK2.net. They've been a great supporter of the British Tech Network, and I wanted to give them a huge thanks for supporting this show and providing us with our hosting and bandwidth. Please check them out via britishtechnetwork.com. Look at the sponsor link, and just under there you'll see a visit UK2.net link, and that way they know that you found them through us. So thanks again to UK2.net for supporting the show. So following on from last week where we learned the string names and how to find notes, I wanted to start us building a song. So I've been trying to look up for songs this week where I had some good open chords, a couple of power chords, and a solo, kind of a basic solo that we could learn together. And what I wanted to do was break this down into 3 parts. So this week we'll have a look at the open chords, Next week we'll look at the power chords, and the following week we'll run through the solo. And also, I'm not going to be doing a video podcast for this section anyway. For the chord section, I'm going to put the pictures of the chords up. You'll hear me playing just with one of my guitars unplugged here, and I'll talk through the shape of the chord, but also I'll be putting an image up in the show notes. And the song that I've chosen is Knocking on Heaven's Door, the Guns N' Roses version, because you can just play the same 3 chords through most of the track. There is some kind of picking, but you can just strum the chords. You can kind of do either one, is depending on kind of your level of playing. So the chords that we're going to use are G, D and C. And what I'll do is I'll just grab my guitar and I'll just talk through how I'm playing those chords, and I'll also put the pictures up in the show notes. Like I said, one thing to note is if you're playing along with the song, is Guns N' Roses tuned down half a step, so the position of where you're playing is actually down 1 fret. But don't worry about that. You know, if you're playing along, just bear that in mind, that it's not going to sound exactly 100% like the song. You can detune your guitar, so take everything down half a step, so 1 note down. But for me, I tend to just play in standard tuning. So if we just go into the chords. Okay, so the basic structure of this song is basically this. Let me just play it through. So that's G, D, C. And what you'll find in the song is you'll hear the picking stuff. So you got that kind of picking. But we're not going to worry about that for learning this song. We're just trying to learn some chords. So it starts with the G chord. I'll put this chord into the show notes so you can see that. But basically what it is we've got, if I'm looking at my left hand, I've got my second finger on the 3rd fret of the E, second finger on the 2nd fret of the A. All the others are open until I get down to the B string, which my ring finger, the 3rd finger, is on the 3rd fret, and then my 4th finger, my little finger, is on the 3rd fret as well. And then we're going to the D. Now all the strings are open until we get to the G, where my 1st finger is on the 2nd fret. Then on the B string I've got my 3rd finger, and then I've got my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the E string. So G, D, and then the C is my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A, my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and my 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string. And when I play these, one thing that's important to note is I'm not strumming all the chords, so I'm not hitting that top E. I'm strumming everything from that the A string. So that's G, D, so that's our basic structure that we're gonna learn for this week, and then next week we'll go into the power chord bit. But and then the solo I'm thinking of is that kind of first one. Well, that one, the first, the kind of that first one. So that's the aim, is to go through the chords, maybe a bit of the picking. And what I'd like to do is, when you're learning these chords, is maybe pick a few strings. Doesn't really matter which ones for now. And then next week we'll go through the power chord as part of that song, and then we'll do the solo the following week. So let me know how you get on. Give me a shout on Twitter, or send us an email if you get stuck. Good luck, and we'll go through the next bit in the next show. So I've had a question this week from Liz on email asking about buying a first guitar. For me, this comes down to your budget. First thing to do is to create yourself one. I mean, it's easy to go a bit mad sometimes when you go into a guitar store and you see all the guitars there, and you spot something that's a little bit out of the price range. You think, okay, well, it's only a little bit extra, but I think it's important, especially for your first guitar, because you're not 100% sure how long you're going to continue playing. Not to start off on a negative there, but you do have to bear that in mind. So the first thing I would do would be to look at a guitar that you like, a guitar shape that you like. So, is it a Stratocaster style body? Is it a Les Paul? Is it an Ibanez, Telecaster? One thing I did when I first got my guitars, back in the day, was I was a massive fan of Kirk Hammett in Metallica. So I think my first guitar was a black Aria Pro 2, which looked a lot like an ESP, and I kind of gravitated towards that because it looked like the ones on the posters in my bedroom. So I think if you've got a particular favourite style of music or favourite guitarist, then you're going to naturally gravitate towards something like that. What I'd recommend is, first thing is like I said, pick your budget. Then in terms of going to find a guitar, best thing to do is don't buy one online, especially for your first guitar. If you've support your local shop. If you've got a good local store close to you, then go there with your budget and see what they've got. In terms of some of the brands, for me, there's some of the stuff that I've played over the years. The brand that I've had guitars for different price ranges. So some of the ones I've played that I'd recommend checking out, kind of first guitar budget guitars, is PRS, the PRS SE range. They do, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's an SE standard now, which I've not played, but I've heard really, really good things about them. I think they're about kind of £300. But PRS, there is a lot of kind of, I wouldn't say hate, but there's a lot of people out there that don't like PRS guitars because of maybe the way they look. Maybe they look a bit too fancy, maybe some of the top end ones, but they're brilliant guitars in terms of, for me anyway. I love PRS guitars, but they're top notch. Like the quality on any of the ranges, their aim's always to kind of be the best quality no matter what price range. So don't discount PRS SEs. I know a lot of people with the SE range and they absolutely love them. I've played PRS SEs. I've played quite a few of them over the time. I don't own one currently. I've got a few friends that do. So I definitely recommend looking at the PRS SE range. If you're a fan of kind of like a Stratocaster or a Telecaster, then you can look at Squier. So Squier, really good. This Squier Modern Player or Classic Vibe. No, Classic Vibe, that's it. There's a Squier Classic Vibe, which is good. And you can get those in a Telecaster or a Stratocaster style shape. Or you could look at, depending on budget again, you could look at one of the Mexican ones. I've got two Mexican Fenders. I've got a Stratocaster, which I've had since about, I think, 99, something like that, 98, 99. And I've got a Fender, I've got a Baja Telecaster, which is a Mexican made. And they're really good value for money, but I'd check out Squier to start. If you're a fan of Les Paul style shape, then I'd recommend looking at Tokai. Tokai are really, really good. They make really good kind of, I don't want to say copies, but they're Japanese made, the top end ones, but they do some Korean ones as well, which are good. I owned one quite a few years ago. I played in a band with it. It was really good. And also Vintage do some kind of really affordable Les Paul style shapes. I'm not saying Epiphone because I've not had a lot of luck with Epiphone in the past. I haven't found them to be that good. Also, Ibanez do some really affordable guitars now. So Ibanez, if you're a fan of, Steve Vai and Satriani, people like that, then, you're probably going to gravitate towards Ibanez. They do some really good ones. And in the UK, there's a good UK brand called Chapman Guitars. They do an ML1, which I think retails for around £350 to £400. I've owned one of those previously. They're really good guitars as well for the money. So I'd check any of those out. They're the brands that I'm kind of familiar with and ones that I've played over the years. I wouldn't worry about getting anything brand new as well. So that's an option. If you're going to your local guitar store, have a look. A lot of places have used sections, used gear, so have a look there as well. So yeah, good luck on your search. Let me know if you have any problems or if you have any questions. Feel free to drop me a note on Twitter or send a mail into the usual mail, which I'll tell you in a bit. So yeah, good luck, and just give me a shout if you need any help with that one. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, then feel free to send them through, and then I'll do my best to answer them over the coming weeks. All right, cheers. Okay, so that's it for another episode of The Guitar Show. Thanks for listening. Please remember to leave us a review in iTunes if you like the show. And if you've got any questions, please send them into britishtechnetwork@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at LJPUK. Feel free to send me anything there. If you've got any questions or if you need any advice on any of the guitar or tech stuff, then just give me a shout. I hope you all have a good week, and I'll speak to you in the next episode.